Hey, Viking fans, this is Keith Millard, and you are listening to the Onebar and Lupicus Show. Go Vikes!
All right, welcome back to the Onebar and Lupicus Show. I'm Onebar, and it is that time of the week. It is SKOL'ing with the Enemy. We've got a special guest today, John Gilbert from Field Gulls.com, one of the top Seattle Seahawks websites out there. He's gonna let us know what to expect Sunday. If we should be excited, we should be terrified. He's gonna just give it all to us. John, appreciate you hopping on, man. How you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you. Appreciate you having me on. Looking forward to the game this weekend.
Yeah, I bet you are. 7-0 against the Vikings last 7 games. So if I'm a Seahawk fan, this has got to be one of your favorite games of the year.
It's one of the favorite games, but it's one of those things where you start looking at it and you're like, how much longer can this keep going? Eventually, it's going to go the other way. So
I appreciate that, giving us a little bit of hope. Obviously, all the links, fieldgulls.com will be down in the description. John's Twitter will have that all down there, so be sure to check that out. But let's hop right into this. Seahawks, it's no secret, been very good. 9 winning seasons in a row. As a Vikings fan, seeing how we've played you guys so much over the last handful of years, it seems like Russell Wilson, Bobby Wagner, Tyler Lockett, Chris Carson. It seems like they've been there since like the mid 80s. They've been there so long. Is the window still wide open for the Seahawks? Are they still trending up? Give me the scoop.
I don't know if I would say that the window is still wide open. I think anytime you've got Russell Wilson, you've got a puncher's chance. The window is open to some degree. Things you can always get lucky in the postseason. You just got to get there, and they've been fantastic at getting there since he's been around. They certainly are not the caliber of team that they were 2013, 2014. But they've got some very good pieces, but it's very much a stars, like you mentioned, the Lockett, the Wilson, the Wagner, and then a whole lot of youth and upside potential that hasn't quite done as much on the field yet in their career, but could become good. We just haven't seen a whole lot of it yet. So,
on that note, you got to win over the Colts week 1, lose to the Titans last week, 1-1 right now. Vikings 0-2, feeling very not overly fantastic going into this game, but just overall, have you been pleased with the way Seattle has looked? Are you excited right now? Or are you just kind of in limbo?
A little bit in limbo right now. There were a lot of questions in certain areas of the defense. So how would the defensive line look? How would the cornerback position look? And week 1, things were great. And then week 2, things were great until about halftime, and then they were just straight downhill after that. So still some concerns on defense. And then on the offensive side of the ball, whether it's just growing pains, learning a new system with new offensive coordinator Shane Waldron, 28 points week 1, 30 points week 2, good outputs, but just not enough to hold on, in week 2. So far so good on a lot of things, but just, a lot of questions and that youth and upside that has to perform and become more than just potential.
So looking at the Vikings from the Seahawks perspective, obviously we got some firepower on offense with Thielen, Jefferson, Dalvin Cook. Kirk Cousins is off to a pretty good start. From your standpoint, what scares you as far as what the Vikings could actually take advantage of on Sunday?
The biggest thing is what that receiving core with Cousins could do to a secondary. You've got fantastic safeties. Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams are great at safety, but the corners are, Trey Flowers and DJ Reed, neither one of which has ever been a full season starter who's impressed. And so, part of the reason that the Titans had to come back was because they had a lot of drop balls from A.J. Brown and Julio Jones in the first half. If, Thielen and Jefferson are catching the passes, it could be a long day for the outside corners for Seattle, which could, and I hate to take on an 0-2 team. I hate to have a team that's backed into a corner it's got nothing to lose, is fighting for everything, early in the season. It's one of those things where that's what scares me.
Well, they need to shit or get out the pot. This is, I hate to say it, this is a must-win week 3, but we got you guys. Then we have the Browns. They're going to come out firing.
No, and that's the last thing you want to see, especially the way, that's what you don't want to see that, especially with the way that the defense finished the second half against the Titans, giving up a 15-point fourth quarter lead or 15-point second half lead, and then losing it overtime, and then coming into a team that's going to play to the Vikings' strengths is what the Seattle weakness is. So it could be a long day for Seattle fans again this weekend. Hoping it's not, but
well, hey, last time we even played Seattle at home was 2015. And that was Blair Walsh.
Yeah.
So that's what I got going for me. I'm like, well, we finally get you back home. Maybe this is our moment. But once again, John Gilbert from fieldgulls.com. Let's talk a little bit Dalvin Cook. How Seattle's run defense looked?
They looked good the first week, and then they looked good in the first half and shut Derrick Henry down. He had 13 carries for 35 yards at the half, and then obviously finished with 35 carries for 180 yards, and was a thorn in their side. A lot of broken tackles, a lot of issues tackling on run defense so far. So that could be the issue. They've been assignment sound. They just haven't wrapped the guy up and taken him to the ground. So
Bobby Wagner still elite. How's
he
looking?
is. I mean, it's one of those things where Seahawks fans will complain that he's slipped and that his game isn't what it once was, but it's one of those things where he's gone from all universe or all pro down to just maybe Pro Bowl, if you want to consider it that. But he's still very good, absolutely fantastic, all over the field, making plays left and right. So it's a name that he had 20 tackles this weekend against the Titans. You'll hear the name a ton, but it's just, the names around him have all changed, and those aren't quite the names that he used to have surrounding him in terms of quality.
The Seahawks Vikings have quite the history of kind of exchanging players all the way back in the day with the poison pill with Stephen Hutchinson, Nate Burleson, Tavares Jackson, Percy Harvin. I'm probably missing a bunch of other ones, but if there was a Viking that you could snipe from our roster right now and just put him in a Seahawks uniform, who are you taking?
I would absolutely. I know we just spent a second round draft pick on D. Eskridge, but I would absolutely steal one of your wide receivers, either Adam Thielen or Jefferson. Either one of those. It's just that third weapon, the third proven weapon, would be fantastic to pair up with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett.
We'll give you KJ Osborne. That's all you get. I'm sorry. You're getting a little
take what we get.
Getting a little greedy there. So Seahawks offensive line. We spent some money. We got a lot invested in this defensive line. Granted, it really hasn't. We got Michael Pierce. We got Dalvin Tomlinson, who we signed in the offseason, and obviously Danielle Hunter. How's that Seahawks offensive line looking?
It came into the season looking good. Plan was laid out well. Dwayne Brown at left tackle has been fantastic. The center has been a little bit iffy, a little bit questionable, just because Kyle Fuller is very inexperienced. I think he's doubled his career starts already in the first two games this year. And then the big question marks coming into the Vikings game are going to be at right tackle. You've got Brandon Shell, who's been great, but he got hurt late in the game against the Titans. And so it may be Jamarco Jones who's out there playing right tackle. And if that's the case, he is not the most athletic tackle. He's fundamentally sound, great technique, long arm, can push a guy up the field. But if he's going up against somebody that's highly athletic, he can have some issues, or someone that's bigger than him, he can get bullied. And then left guard Damian Lewis was battling a groin injury that had him in and out of the game against the Titans. So we'll see how that progresses and whether he plays or not. And right tackle and left guard could be huge question marks this weekend.
All right. I'll take that. Biggest strength for Seattle in 2021. Just overall, what is their bread and butter?
It's got to be Wilson to Lockett. That's they've been together. This is their 6th or 7th season, whatever it is, and those two, they're just on the same page. I think he's second in the NFL in receiving yards, if not maybe third. But by about 6 yards. But they've just been fantastic so far, and we'll see if the Vikings can slow him down or not, but that's the big thing that's been going for the team so far.
Well, that's horrifying. The Vikings have had some issues. We got some decent safeties, but Patrick Peterson and I'll tell you this: if the Vikings trot out Rashaad Breeland as our cornerback too, as a starter, you should be a little excited, because we actually Vikings actually took him out at the end of last game and putting Cam Dantzler back in. He looked pretty good, but Rashaad Breeland has had a rough first couple of weeks. So yes, that's terrifying.
It's entirely possible it could be another big game for Lockett. We'll see. He seems to be a perfect fit. He's kind of taken on the Cooper Cup role in the for the Rams that under new offensive coordinator Shane Waldron, and two games, two big games, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him have a third big game this weekend. So
where do you feel the Vikings could take advantage? You think it's pounding the ball? You think it's just airing this thing out? You think it's playing small ball? What do you think?
I would say airing it out. I mean, obviously the Derrick Henry 180 yards on the ground would seem to indicate that there will be running lanes, but I think there are far bigger question marks at cornerback for the Seahawks. I mean, their nickel seems to be the only cornerback that's performing at any level of competency so far. And so I think there's going to be, I think Kirk Cousins will have a big game, and I think it's going to be a high scoring affair between these two teams.
What's your thoughts on Eskridge? I know you mentioned him a little bit earlier, preseason wise. I mean, how's he looking?
I mean, we've gotten only very limited glimpses of him. He suffered some kind of toe injury. They've been kind of hush-hush about exactly what the injury was. He suffered it back in June, didn't practice at all, started training camp on the PUP list, was out until mid-August, only played briefly in one preseason game, had a catch, a couple end arounds, and then played about 12 offensive snaps there in week 1 before suffered a nasty concussion, knocked out cold on the sideline. So I don't even know if he'll be on the field this week or if last year's 6th round pick Freddie Swain will be our wide receiver 3. So
when it comes to the Vikings so far this year, it's been Dalvin Cook or pretty much nothing at all. I think we've given a running back maybe 2 other carries. And looking at Seattle, it seems to be the exact same thing with Carson. It's either Carson, Wilson running the ball, or nobody else. Is Carson still a tough runner? I mean, is it pretty much all him or nothing?
Yeah, I mean, it's been all him or nothing, basically. He's been the lead back both games. I think they gave 1 carry to Alex Collins during the 2-minute drill this past weekend. Rashaad Penny had 2 carries in week 1 before he got hurt, but it's been all Chris Carson all the time. I mean, typically he'll come out for Travis Homer on third down in the seasons past, but in week 1 they kept Carson on the field for as the third down back. So it's whether he's taking on a true 3-down back role or whether that was just a week 1 put this on tape for the league to think about, we'll have to wait and see. But he's the guy. He's number 1, he's number 2, and then okay, when he needs a breather, we'll put someone else in, it seems like.
One of our favorite viewers, who goes by Mr. Skinny, for some reason has a big disdain towards Rashaad Penny. I would love to hear a Seattle Seahawks thoughts on just Penny, of not only just what he's done, but where he's at. But what are your thoughts on Rashaad Penny? Is it just a complete bust? What's the deal?
I mean, it almost feels like that may be the case. He was really starting to he had a couple good games in 2019, was really maybe starting to look like he would put things together. Was playing well. I mean, I think it might have been his last game, against the Vikings in 2019. He had a good game, and then it was he tore his ACL, and that's really kind of been it since then. He finished last season with 11 carries for 31 or 34 yards, and then he's got 2 carries for 8 yards so far this year. So it's just I think the last time was it Thursday night or Monday night when the Vikings and Seahawks played a couple years ago, and both he and Carson had big games. That may have been the last time that he carried the ball more than 3 or 4 times in a game.
All right. So here's before we get into just kind of what you're feeling as far as this Sunday, I'm going to say this. I'm just going to ask a favor that whatever happens on Sunday, I just hope it's not close. I can't deal with another close game. I can't deal with anything coming down to the wire. I can't deal with the Vikings being up by 10 and then you guys coming back. So either the Vikings need to just show up and blow you guys out, or you need to do the complete opposite, because I can't handle anything else.
Nothing that comes down to kickers. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
So we had the Seahawks. We had that fourth quarter. The game against the Titans. They missed an extra point in regulation in the fourth quarter and then we went overtime and lost. So I'm nowhere near the Blair Walsh or anything like that. But
I feel your pain. So, like I said, Vikings have currently a 7-game losing streak. I believe Russell Wilson's 7-0. I think those are all his.
I believe so.
Dating back to 2012. So just putting your Seahawks heart aside confidence level heading into Sunday? Not so much a prediction, but what are you thinking?
Russell Wilson, going back to 2012 in his time in the NFL, he had something like a 74% win rate in the game after a loss. They do not lose twice in a row, and I'm certain he's not happy about having lost the home opener. I think the Seahawks will pull it out. I think they're, a little bit better of a more complete team than the Vikings, but we saw this weekend. I mean, they had a home game. They had a 15-point lead in the second half, and they managed to blow it. So, I could be surprised, and I wouldn't be that surprised, honestly, if the Vikings won, but I wouldn't. It's not what I expect. Let me put it like that. So,
all right, that's fair. Once again, John Gilbert from fieldgulls.com has officially prepared our souls, minds, and bodies for Sunday. John, once again, appreciate you hopping on the show. It's been fantastic.
No problem. Appreciate you having me, and I'm looking forward to the game this Sunday.
All right, man. Take it easy.
All right, you too.